What's going on, guys? You got Quasi here for Quasi Animation Studio and Quasi Media Network. Well, right here I have a little makeshift scene set up to show it's set up to show a how do I put this, a demonstration of camera use. Not the same as what I've shown before. This is more about altering and alternating between cameras. So in this set, of course, it just has some little makeshift trees with some cone shapes, right? And then a walkway and a building. And I actually put a legit door in there. That's what I did. Okay. All right. So, excuse me. I have two of the characters from my Rise of the Cerulean series over on the Quasi Media Network channel, and I'm gonna go into the animation tab and show you basically how I would run a shot. Now, there's no dialogue, so I'll add dialogue. I'll just go get some and just put it in there for the sake of use, so we can have something to go off on. Okay. All right. So that means I have to go find a scene with these characters in it, which is not too hard, and then go from there. All right. So yeah. I think he was in episode 4. No, 3. The Isle of Ghouls. 6. 5. 8. No, I can't find the scene. I just need some audio. So I know you would say, oh man, just show me. I'm trying to make sure I have something in here that makes sense. Oh, I know where I missed it. Never mind. I was in the wrong thing altogether. All right, ailerons, lines. Let's go with, let's see what this one sounds like. Okay, so he did that horribly, but I'll use it either way. Nope, no, I will not. I have a better idea. Go with the shorter one. Let's go with this one. Yeah, that's better. All right. Say, why'd you come here? And then I think right at the end of that. All right, and I'll add 7 frames. Make it an even 130, and then add a line for her later from episode 12. It was in episode 10. Earlier, say 5. I'm sorry, that's funny. And I'll just stop it right there. All right, so that would be the scene, or the shot would stop it at 200. Okay. All right. So we have them set up. Let's go to the good old camera. And the first bit is, let me click him. Let me click her. Ooh, why isn't there? Well, I'm not going to be editing them anyway, so I'm going to close their stuff. And we're just going to deal with the cameras. So aileron's camera. So in the either your dope sheet action editor, you'll go put your arrow in there and hit Control B, and it'll make it the camera that is prompted to be used in that time. So let's say you set keyframes for another camera, and the moment you move, it's going to snap back to that camera. It makes it the predominant camera in the scene. Okay. All right, so I'll start with his since he's saying what he's saying, but I always recommend having at least 2 screens that you can see both things at the same time. And it's a reason for that, because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to split the screen down the middle, I'm going to push in some, and I'm going to get rid of the overlay and gizmos. And here, I'm going to control the camera. Now, when I do rotations on the camera, I do the rotations over in the transform area. Turn on auto keying, and then when I do all of my location movements, let's put this on local. I do them from the arrows here and not there. Okay. So for the sake of this, we're going to go ahead and keyframe I location rotation. We're doing no scaling. And then, okay, so right there, I'll have it to about 120. And I'll push in because he's saying what he's saying. And then with my mouse in, again, the action editor area, I hit V and I'll hit vector. Now let me explain why I did that. It's because even though it's Bezier, because I'm using a Bezier interpolation. So when we go V for our handle, I'm gonna go vector. Okay. This way, oh my goodness, what happened there? I messed up. Let me go back to Bezier. All right, I messed around and made it bounce. Okay, so it makes it smoother. Now let me show you, if we go back to auto clamped, it ramps. And of course you can hit Control E and it'll give you ease in, ease out. But for camera shots like this, I don't want it to ease. I just want it to go straight from one point to the next smoothly, but still with a Bezier curve. Now another trick I use is I'll use the rotations and go into, let's get rid of this. I don't know how I end up doing that. All right. Okay, so I'll go into and click, let's say the X rotation, and go to modifier and I'll go noise. And then I'll scale that up to like 30. And then on the strength, I'll make it like 0.02. And then I give it a restriction so I know it ends at 20 frames. All right, I mean 120 frames. So when I go back, what I'll do is I'll copy it and then paste it to the Z. So we get a little motion. We get a little motion in there. All right, okay. And then I'm going to switch over to her camera. I'm going to click the camera icon. It's not set up to shoot yet, but I have an idea. Okay, so let's click her head. I'm going to click her hair so I can get real close. And then I'm going to get right onto her shoulder, and I'm going to hit Control-Alt-0. Yeah. All right, and I'll select her camera again. This way I have full control. And then I'm going to go 90 and get the 0 out of that. All right, so let's find that location I want. All right, pull back a little bit. All right, there we go. Now in here, Control B, because remember we needed to be the camera that is in use. And I'm going to hit I, location rotation. And we're going to go to the end, and I'm just going to push it forward again. And same thing, vector. Now mind you, I don't do this every time. This is just something I do as a base. But when I paste this, I have to go and change the beginning in frames. Okay, so I know it ends at 200, and I come over here, and because it's the same one, I'm just going to copy it again. And now it has the same set. So come back and let's play through our scene in the it kept that. Oh man, let me go back and fix that. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right, now come in here. I'm gonna turn off the camera view lock. All right. Okay, so the playback. So that's one of the things that I would do to make a shot more consistent. So let's say, for instance, where you have this shot here and you want it to stay there when you come back, just delete those keyframes for that camera and it will stay in that last position. So it's in the last position. So even if I go back, the last position it was in is where it's going to be. So let's say I want that camera to turn from that location at 120 rather than go forward. So what I would do at 121 is hit I, location rotation, go to the end, and then rotate and push it forward and pull back. And then I would hit vector, because I'm gonna show you now. I'm not gonna vector it. It's just a normal Bezier curve. Watch how it ramps, and it kind of turns twisted, like a little weird. But if I go vector it smoothly turns.
Why'd you come? You need to stay apart just in case.
Okay, so that's one of the things you can do to transition between shots is remember to set your set your shots up here by hitting Control B, so that it'll lock that camera as the camera in use at that time. Okay, this way you're not going back and forth having to figure out what's what, and trying to do a lot of trying to think of the word recalculate or figure out where the last shot was. What I always do when I open up a scene, and let's go to a scene right now. It's not really a spoiler. Go to the setup. I'm doing, let's say, shot 4. Okay, so this is the next episode of Versus, right? So in this shot, this was the last place that that this shot was in. Okay, so if we go back to the playback. Right. All right. So that's the shot for the playback. Okay. Now, if I go to the other shot, don't save because I don't need to. Just say this is 4. So if I go to 2, which was this last shot, and let's go to playback, and I play it back, it's in the same place it was in the other shot, even though there's motion there, because all I did was go to the last keyframe and leave it there, delete that, and then go from there. But this is in different save, a different save. So they're not. I didn't destroy an animation for the sake of having a consistent shot. Okay. So, like for instance, on the first shot, let's go to the first one. All right. So look at the first one, and the first shot zooms in on them. And then it goes over to Youngla, and then it switches to Garvin. So once she says what she says at the end, then it switches over to Garvin in the second shot, and then in the third shot, it switches to Youngla. So, where we at again? Yeah, because it's over his shoulder now. And that's a matter of, okay, well, I'm doing dialogue shots, right? So what I tend to do is not try to do them all in the same scene or in the same file. So I'll have save renditions, and that's how I usually do my shots and keeping them consistent. Now, sometimes it gets a little off because you may go in and say, oh man, I forgot to save that last keyframe. So now you have to go back and figure it out. So it's best to sometimes go back and look at your last shot. Now, another trick that I like, and let's go to a scene for that. I'll look at, let's say, this is season 2, right? Okay, yeah. So let's say, I think it's this one. Yep. All right. So the first one, shots like this are a little bit more difficult to composite. I mean not composite, put together, because you're having to. I think it was this one. Which one is running? Yeah, it's this one, because I have it on an empty. Okay, so there's an empty in the scene that's controlling this camera. So that camera is parented to that empty, so we get this shot. Right? Okay. And then boom, the things that are gonna happen. Right? Okay. So the reason why I can rotate that way is because the camera is parented to the empty rather than trying to force it to just work. All right. So I went to the wrong place. Yeah. Okay. Now we go to the second one and show you again. This is going to a whole new shot now, but it's in a different save rendition. Right? And it's the same thing. I'm still using the noise to give me a bit of a handheld feel. And then here is just a slight edge to push to the side. Now, when we go to the next shot, it's it's just an instant transition. Like I just go out wide because she's going to they're having a conversation that's going to switch. Okay, so now when she says "but I," and then we look at the fourth. Is it the fourth? Yeah, fourth shot. I have to look up at the top. All right. Now again, it was panning in that direction, so now we're directly to the side. Then it shoots over to Zusa. Okay, and then if we go to the fifth shot, again, another save rendition. It's since she's the one, because okay, the best way to set your shots up is based on whomever the primary speaker is, and or whomever the main focal point is in the shot. So if my focal point is Vesta, which is who's talking now, then I can do an over the shoulder shot or a rear or from behind shot on Zusa, but facing Vesta. Or I can do a side shot, or I can do a POV shot. In this case, she's just right. And then I come out of nowhere, I go back, and then we get a zoom in on Uriel because he's coming in from above. So it's not an immediate shot. I mean, it's not a shot that it has to be a POV or anything like that. All right, so now understand this is shot 6. It starts at the same keyframe as shot 5.
Minister Vesta of the House Tongue, you are hereby stripped of rank and title.
Okay, so if I go to the last frame, that's where he's going to start. I'm sorry, that's the last frame, but that doesn't mean that's where he's going to start in the next shot. Okay. What? No. All right. 7. Okay. And then here, Zusa goes to talk. So we switched again.
Is there?
Silence high.
And now you see where his shot started, right? From the same place as the last keyframe.
Is there?
Silence high, Minister. The word of the Most High is absolute. There is nothing that can be done. He will be her judge.
Not you nor I. I just like the way he voiced that character, period. All right. So let's go to the next shot just for the sake of doing it. Now remember where her last shot was, here. So now we're going to pull back in.
But I need to know more about what happened during your capture and I'm to destroy the
And look where it is for Uriel.
to handle this battle. Please be patient.
Okay, so now when I go to the next shot for Uriel, it's 9. All right. This episode is already out. You can check it out on this Quasi Media Network.
Grant,
It's pulled out
continue.
because that's as far as I zoomed in.
Grant,
All right. So when we go to 10, we're going to get another over-the-shoulder shot, but we get to see Vesta turn around because she's looking at this angel.
I was knocked out for a little while, so I believe Mama left. But she came back.
So that's the whole thing there is pacing your shots based upon who's the most prevalent character in the scene at that time. And then also making sure not to forget or not using the last area or space or keyframe that the camera was in last. So that's the reason why storyboarding is pretty important, and also why it's important to have a pretty good vision on how you want to do your shot. So even if you don't storyboard, I recommend doing an outline of how you want the shots to be done. So it's like you're in a hurry to do the story, but wouldn't it just be better to just say, okay, like for instance, if I go up here and I go, all right, Vesta returns 1, right? And then I say, this is the opening shot to this scene. So I say, well, opening shot, Vesta returns, rotating camera. Okay, how do I want this camera to rotate? So what I would figure the best way to rotate the camera would be on an empty, because now the camera is just spinning around the empty. So when you get this, and then I can take that same empty and still pull in on her, because the empty is how I pulled in on her. It didn't switch cameras. The empty moved, allowing me to get closer to her. Okay, so now when I say, okay, shot 2, so when I write that down, just independent from your script or whatever, okay, shot 2 on Zusa maybe a wide shot. So this wouldn't really be a medium. A medium would be what we just ended with on Vesta's shot at the end of the first shot. So here we're gonna pull into a tight close up. Then we're gonna go back into a medium shot. And then back into a tight close up POV. So it's a matter of figuring out what's most important in the shot and giving that thing time to breathe, because a lot of people don't give the shots time to breathe. I don't know if I did it in this or not. I don't want to pull anything up that's gonna glitch my stuff out. Maybe if I just showed the actual shots. So let me do that instead. Series that I'm working on, Tavella. Let's look at the renders. Can I look at the renders? No, I cannot. They are EXR files, but we can look at the actual, we can look at a previs. Okay, so this is a previous shot, right? Or rather me just looking at how I wanted to pace it out. Okay, so as we see the camera, boom, we get a switch, then we jump, then we cut again, and then it goes over his shoulder. Okay, so it's a matter of figuring out what needs to be in the shot, because remember, every image is just a picture, because people forget for some reason that movie means moving picture. So the best thing to do is to take a mental picture of how you want to present what's on the screen via your camera. That's really what you're doing. So with that being said, I'm not going to beat it up much longer. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or want to check out some of the content that I've done, I've been doing this a little bit over 2 years, meaning in other words, it's animating. I feel like I've gotten to a pretty good place, but hey, we all are learning, we're all increasing, growing, and getting better. So with that being said, I would genuinely like for you guys to go check out Quasi Media Network and just look at some of the content coming there, and some of the content there, and there's content coming. I'm sorry, man. It's just been one of those days so far. With that being said, no.